Why I don't know is enlightening. Buddhist humility. We live in a world that values certainty. We are told that knowing is power, that having the answer means we are smart, successful, or even lovable. So it's no surprise that many of us feel scared to admit, I don't know. But why does it feel so hard to say those three simple words? The trap of always knowing. From a young age, we learn that being right brings praise. In school, those who give the correct answer are rewarded. At work, those who seem confident and knowledgeable are trusted more. Slowly, we begin to believe that our worth depends on how much we know. In Buddhist terms, this becomes a kind of craving, a deep need to feel sure, to feel important. Even when we're not aware of it, this craving can control our actions. We try to look like we know, even when we don't. We hold on tightly to our opinions, afraid that changing our minds will make us look weak. But this creates stress inside. Always needing to know makes us afraid of being wrong. It makes us afraid of looking foolish. It makes us afraid of not being in control. And in that quiet fear, we suffer. This pressure to always know isn't new. Thousands of years ago, in ancient Greece, there was a wise man named Socrates. Many people thought they knew everything, but Socrates famously said something surprising. I know that I know nothing. Was he saying he was foolish? Not at all. Socrates was being deeply honest. He saw that the real problem wasn't not knowing, but thinking you know when you don't, or refusing to see how vast the unknown is. His famous phrase wasn't a sign of weakness. It was the mark of a truly open mind. By admitting his limits, he was free to question everything, to learn, and to grow. His mind wasn't closed by pride. It was open like a door. This wisdom of not knowing is also found at the heart of Buddhist teaching. The Buddha himself understood that not all knowing is helpful. There's a famous story where people asked the Buddha big philosophical questions that didn't directly help them end suffering, like, is the world eternal? Or, what happens after death? Instead of giving a direct answer, the Buddha sometimes remained silent. He explained that thinking too much about these things is like being shot by a poison arrow, but refusing to let the doctor remove it until you know everything about the person who shot you. Their name, their village, the type of wood the arrow is made from. The most important thing is to remove the arrow. The most important thing is to heal our suffering here and now. The Buddha's silence wasn't a lack of knowledge. It was a teaching about what kind of knowledge truly matters for our freedom. So why do we cling so tightly to knowing things, even things that don't help us? It often comes back to that part of us we call the ego. The ego loves certainty. It says, I must be sure. I must be right. I must be in control. Knowing things gives the ego a feeling of safety and importance. But life itself resists this control. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same forever. This is the Buddhist truth of impermanence. The ego struggles against this constant change, and its need to know and control is a way it tries to fight reality. But trying to control what cannot be controlled only creates more fear and suffering. Underneath all the clinging to opinions and knowledge is often a quiet fear of uncertainty, a fear of change, a fear of not being a solid, fixed somebody. But what if releasing that fear, that need to always have the answer, opens a door to a different way of being, a way filled with lightness and ease? The freedom of not knowing. We often see not knowing as a weakness, something to hide. But what if it's actually a superpower? What if saying, "I don't know," isn't an end, but a beautiful beginning? A beginning of honesty, openness, and true freedom. Think about Richard Feynman, one of the most brilliant scientists of the 20th century. He was a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, a master at understanding the deep laws of the universe. Yet he famously said, "I don't know anything for certain." Did he say this sadly? No, he said it with joy. For Feynman, not knowing wasn't a problem. It was an invitation. Every question, every mystery was a chance to explore, to wonder, to discover something new. He wasn't afraid of being wrong because the fun was in the journey of finding out. He found happiness not in having the final answer, but in the playful dance of discovery itself. This is the joy of living with genuine curiosity and an open heart. In Buddhist teaching, this openness is deeply connected to the idea of non-attachment. We usually think of non-attachment as letting go of things like money or possessions. But it also means not clinging tightly to our thoughts, our opinions, and our beliefs about how things are. When we must be right, our minds become rigid. We stop listening. We stop seeing clearly. But when we allow ourselves the simple honesty of, "I don't know," we loosen that grip. We create space in our minds. It's like the old Zen saying, "You can't fill a cup that's already full." If our mind is already full of what we think we know, full of old ideas and fixed opinions, there's no room for new understanding, new wisdom, or new possibilities. Saying "I don't know" is like emptying the cup, making it ready to receive. This is also why the practice of mindfulness meditation is so powerful. When we sit to meditate, we're not trying to figure out our problems or find perfect answers. We're simply learning to see what is here as it is, without needing to label it, judge it, or change it. We watch our breath, our feelings, our thoughts, not trying to know them in a fixed way, but simply being present with them. This act of pure observation, without needing certainty, is a deep form of not knowing that opens us to reality. Choosing this path of openness and not knowing takes courage. In a world that often rewards loud certainty, it feels brave to simply say, "I don't have the answer." It can feel risky, like we might be judged or seen as weak. But in that vulnerability is immense strength. It takes courage to stand in the unknown and not run away, to be with the mystery of life and still feel soft and open, to say, "I may not have all the answers, but I am here, fully present, and ready to learn." It's like looking up at the vast night sky. You don't know the name of every star, you don't understand the physics of every galaxy, but you don't need to know it all to feel the wonder, the beauty, and the immensity of it. You simply allow yourself to be with the mystery. Life doesn't need to be a problem to be solved. It can be an experience to be lived, a mystery to be embraced. And when we stop needing to solve it all, when we let go of the pressure to know, a quiet peace begins to fill the space left behind. When that clinging quietens, what kind of stillness do we find within? What is this spaciousness beyond our usual way of knowing? The stillness beyond knowing. When we ease our grip on needing to know everything, we step into a different kind of space inside ourselves. It's not the dull emptiness of confusion. It's the vast stillness of a mind that is open and clear. Imagine the sky on a perfectly clear day. It's not empty of potential. It's wide open, ready to hold clouds, sunshine, stars, everything. That's the spaciousness of true not knowing. It's not a lack of thought, but a mind uncluttered by the constant need to be certain or right. In Buddhist philosophy, this relates to the idea of shunyata, often translated as emptiness. But it doesn't mean nothing exists. It means things don't have a fixed, solid, independent nature. They are constantly changing and interconnected. When our minds are free from rigid ideas, the not knowing, we can actually see this interconnected reality more clearly. The space created by I don't know is full of quiet potential for wisdom to arise. Sometimes, the deepest teachings come not from words, but from silence. The Buddha didn't always answer questions directly. Sometimes, his silence was the answer, inviting people to look beyond concepts. There is a beautiful, famous story in the Zen tradition about the Buddha. One day, he stood before his students, ready to give a teaching. But instead of speaking, he simply held up a flower. The students waited, expecting words. But he just held the flower, in silence. The room was still. Only one student, Mahakasyapa, understood. He simply smiled. The Buddha saw that smile and said, "I have the eye of the true Dharma, the subtle mind of nirvana, and I give it to Mahakasyapa." This was the first silent transmission of truth. The flower wasn't a symbol to be figured out with the mind. It was reality, simply present. And in the shared moment of silence, one person saw it directly, beyond words, beyond concepts. That quiet seeing is a form of deep knowing that arises from stillness. This story points to a wisdom that doesn't rely on facts, logic, or language. It's a kind of direct seeing, a knowing by being present. Buddhist teachings speak of wisdom gained from listening, thinking, and finally, from direct experience through meditation and deep presence. The deepest wisdom isn't learned from a book. It's realized in the stillness of the heart and mind. Think of a mother understanding her baby's cry. She doesn't need words or reasons. She just knows through a deep connection. Or sitting quietly by the ocean. You don't need to name the waves or analyze the salt. You just feel the vastness and the rhythm in your bones. This is knowing without words, through direct feeling and presence. When we rest in the simple honesty of I don't know, we allow this deeper knowing to emerge. We step out of the busy mind and into the quiet space where reality can show itself to us directly. It's in this stillness, this open space beyond needing to figure things out, that true wisdom often blossoms, not as a loud answer, but as a gentle, clear seeing. When we touch this stillness, this knowing beyond words, it changes how we see everything, including ourselves. If our knowing isn't the key, then who are we? Who are you without knowing? When we find peace in the stillness of not knowing, a natural question might arise. If my value isn't in having answers, and my mind isn't filled with fixed ideas, then who am I? We spend so much time trying to define ourselves by our job, our relationships, our opinions, our past. We build a story about me and try to live inside it. These labels can feel safe, like a solid house. But often, they become like a cage, limiting who we can be. We feel pressured to act according to the label. I am the strong one. I am the smart one. I am the shy one. When we stop needing labels to define us, The path of wisdom gently asks us to look closer at this idea of me. Is there really one fixed thing, one solid self that is always the same? Or are we more like a river, a flow of changing thoughts, feelings, and experiences? This journey isn't about finding a new definition, but discovering the freedom of not being limited by any definition at all. When you let go of needing a fixed definition, you become free. You're like water. Water doesn't have a fixed shape. It can be a river, a lake, steam, or ice. It adapts to its container, always itself, yet always changing form. When you stop holding on to a fixed idea of yourself, you can be more flexible, more open to life's flow, and more truly yourself in each moment. This can feel strange at first, like stepping off solid ground, but it is the groundless freedom of being fully present. When you stop clinging to the idea of a separate, fixed me, something beautiful happens. The feeling of being separated from the rest of the world begins to fade. You start to feel deeply connected to everything around you. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh used the word interbeing to describe this truth. He taught that nothing exists alone. A flower is made of sunshine, rain, earth, and air. You are made of your ancestors, the food you eat, the air you breathe, the people you meet. As he said, "I am in you, and you are in me." When you let go of the small me that needs to know and control, you discover this vast, interconnected self that is not separate from anything. This isn't losing yourself. It's finding your true nature, which is boundless, open, and connected to the whole universe. It's like realizing you are not just a single wave, but the entire ocean. And this realization leads to a natural, peaceful humility. You don't need to prove you are important by knowing more than others. You understand that life is a profound mystery, and you are a part of it, not the master of it. Living from this place of not knowing means you listen more deeply when others speak, because you aren't busy preparing your own answer. You speak more gently, because you understand the limits of your own perspective. You walk through the world with an open heart, connected to the mystery in everything. This journey into not knowing changes everything. The gift of I don't know. Saying, "I don't know," is not a failure. It is a powerful act of courage and honesty. It is the first step toward releasing the heavy burden of needing to be right, needing to control, needing to have all the answers. Like wise ones throughout history, from Socrates challenging assumptions, to the Buddha pointing beyond words, to scientists like Feynman embracing mystery, the courage to not know is the foundation for deeper wisdom and a more authentic way of living. Embracing I don't know opens your mind and heart. It allows you to be fully present with life as it is, moment by moment. It connects you more deeply to yourself and to others. It cultivates a peaceful humility that softens your edges and allows you to listen and speak with genuine kindness. Real wisdom isn't about filling your head with facts. It's about opening your heart and mind to reality. It's about being truly awake and aware here and now. So the next time you face uncertainty or the pressure to have an answer, remember the quiet power of I don't know. Let it be your guide. Let it be your freedom. Let it open the door to a peace that doesn't depend on knowing, but on simply being. You don't need to know everything. You only need to be honestly here, gently, with an open heart. And that is truly enough.